And
And
we are live. We are live with Dear Rawson, the awesome Dear Rawson, my dear friend. Um, and I'm so excited that we just able to do this impromptu. Let's jump in. Let's have a great conversation.
live
So
stream's first time for me, so let's do it.
here, first time really
First time on a live stream.
in all these amazing, how many years of experience in business and life, and
A lot of
you
years.
never been live before.
Too
Oh my
many to
God, I'm
mention.
just
No,
like
I've never been.
amazed.
I've never been live on a service like Substack.
Wisconsin Zebra, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. And you're in a treat because this is DR's first live session, which I had no idea. DR, you want to say something about yourself, whatever you like to share with whoever wants to join
Well,
or watch this later?
I don't know. I asked you if you wanted to use a bio, but this very quickly is that I've had a career as a CEO from the time I was 21 until right now. I'm 79. And I've had 30 different companies and I've written 19 different books, over 700 articles that have been published. I write children's stories primarily. We've written over 700 of those. And it's just a lot, big body of work in a variety of industries. All those 30 companies were not just in one particular industry or one sector, even. They were in different things, completely different things sometimes. It just depended on where the opportunity was.
Yes. Wisconsin Zebra. I don't know what your name is, so I'm just call you Zebra, I guess. He is saying that he or she is saying had to happen eventually for you. Everything happens for a reason. There you go. We are both you and I, they are have to be here for a reason. For all intensive purposes, they are is a dear friend. I look at him as a family, and we've been writing together, working together the last 3 years. We met in person, and I've been in his house in California. So, I might be a little biased,
California. I don't live in
or
California.
Nevada, or wherever you Las
I
Vegas,
live in Nevada. Just,
Nevada. It's really close. It's really close. It's my brain.
yeah.
It's my traumatic brain that kind of didn't compute for a second. But yes. Um, so Dior and I met through my publication, Dancing Elephant Press, and he was a writer and an editor for a while, and we had a lot of fun doing all kinds of great things, and I really enjoy his writing, um, and all the wonderful wisdom and leadership he had to share. And then we also done a lot of conversations about business and life. And I know from a secret source that he's working on a really awesome book right now. And I don't know if you want to put in a little promo of that book and what is it about.
Sure, be
You
happy
can
to.
always say no, but
No,
just
I'm happy to. The book is called CIC. That's the working title, and that's what it's about. CIC stands for character and integrity, and that equals your credibility, whether you want it to or not. So it's CIC. And so this has been a passion of mine for a long time. I grew up with a grandfather that used principles to teach me what to do. So I'd call him and I'd say, Grandpa, I'm having a problem with this and this is happening, and my business, my wife, whatever it was. And Grandpa would come back and he'd say, okay, here's the principle that you need to use to solve that problem. He would never give me the answer, but he'd willingly give me the principle or the value that I needed to use as a judgment call. So I learned that way. So the idea of character, integrity, and credibility means something to me. And so it rang so true. We began writing for 25 character traits for children, primarily second, third, and fourth grade.
yeah.
Then we suddenly realized, parents, just regular Joes, everybody needs CIC. So I started thinking about that. And suddenly I realized that CIC is not, it's not just an adult or a child or something principle. It's a principle for your entire life. And that's absolutely huge. So it began to be a real passion for me then to go with this idea of creating a book about those three things, shortened CIC, but it stands for character, integrity, and credibility. So that's what I'm writing about. I hope to have it out in probably 3 to 4 weeks. We'll see. And it's a book that's a reference guide. If you got a problem, you can go to that book and it'll help you resolve it.
That's amazing. Do you want to give an example from your life that builds any of these character traits?
Oh my gosh.
I know you have hundreds and millions of examples, so it's really hard to pick one.
Just a lot of
But
it. Well,
if you can think of one.
let me tell you the one that I like to share the most. Um, I went through a very traumatic situation after 26 years. My wife and I decided to divorce, and she's the one that made the call. And I went out to my uh, car that I was driving at the time and pulled an envelope out and wrote down everything she got. This is what I got. And then 30 days later, I expected her to be gone. But she fought that a little bit. But when she finally was, it was just me.
Hmm.
I had a chance. I was sitting there thinking for a few minutes. We had a very large home, so I was like a baby in a boxcar because she had all the furniture except for my favorite chair and a couple
Hmm.
other pieces. So I was sitting there just thinking. And I thought, where do I go from here? I don't have
Yeah.
my children every day. I don't have my wife every day. What could I possibly do myself? So
Anything?
I started thinking about that, and I realized I could do anything. At the time, my resources were rather high, and so at that point in time, I could go or live anywhere I wanted to live and be free to go. So after 24 hours of sitting there, I decided this was the kind of person that I wanted to be. This is the kind of person I wanted to treat others. This is the kind of leader that I want to be. There was always so much for improvement. So I kind of put those things down and then I started living my life that way. Now that was the second time that I'd had a major change in my life. And that was so worthwhile. And I'm still continue to do those same things today.
Very successfully, may I add. I just want to say welcome, Uzmai. I hope that I say that right. And Steve, you guys in for a treat. I am talking to Dr. Rawson, a dear friend and an amazing businessman and CEO who is now retired. And he's also just a wonderful author and creator of many, many beautiful things. And right now, he's still creating. He says he's retired, but he's not really retired. He says he's not really a CEO, but he kind of is. So, you want to tell us what you're up to nowadays besides writing a book? And I heard it has something to do with one of my favorite companies that's called Tiny Tales.
Oh, you want to know about that? Okay. Well, first of all, I am tired. Let's go with
Yeah,
that first.
but not retired.
Not retired, but I am tired. Okay. Uh, I'm still working and through my writing, which didn't start till 71, I met another writer and we got to talking about stories and we both love to tell stories. And we got involved in 100 word stories. how would you like to write a 100-word story? Now, you've done this. I know you
I
have.
have done this.
And
Yes.
it's a challenge, isn't it? Yeah.
Once
So
you get used to it, it's going okay.
yeah, that's exactly right. That's what I found. It took me about a month to get into it, and then I really got into it. I could just think of a subject and boom, there it was.
Yeah.
Um, So 100 words, and so we were first writing in this particular group that did 100-word stories, and she said, "Okay, we'll just pick a word every day. It'll be a different word, and we'll work on that." So one day it was like sunset, the next day it was like sunflower. Made no sense at all. So,
Didn't really matter the world, does it?
oh yeah, it was just ugh. A friend of mine in Arizona and I were talking, and he said, "Well, maybe we should write about children."
Mhm.
And so we started writing about for children.
And
And
would you mind us telling how did you meet this friend who is also a mutual friend, by the way?
yeah, yeah,
And we can name him. I think we can name
yeah, we
Rick
can
Allen.
name.
I don't think he would mind.
No, I don't think Rick Allen would mind. No. Uh, but anyway, Rick and I were talking, and he said, character is something that's missing in
Mhm.
schools everywhere. Later, we found out Japan's the only place in the world that actually teaches character the first 3 years of education. That's kind of interesting.
That is really cool.
So, Rick and I tried to incorporate one of the traits. You may not know this, but there's 53 traits. 53. So we called that down to 25. We called them the essential 25. And that's what we write for children. We use those traits to write and create stories that make a point of that in a
Mhm.
very strong way, but in 100 words. Now, they're great bedtime stories.
Yep,
And let me tell you, you know that I have 6 children. When I
I
was
do.
When I was a young dad, I got to read a bedtime story, and by the time I finished, the first 2 or 3 stories, because they were continual stories in each child's room, by the time I got to the 4th one, they were sound asleep. They didn't care. And the others had managed to help them stay awake longer. It was crazy. So, now you can read a 100-word story with a moral point, the
Yep.
trait, like respect or kindness or joy or love or any of those. So we created those, and suddenly we were producing them on Medium, on your publication initially, and then we moved to our own
What publication was that?
Tiny Tales Land or Dancing Movement Press. Yeah.
Just if we wanna promote each other.
Yeah, you just a little bit of promotion there. That's good though. That's what life's all about, guys. So
Yeah,
do whatever that we want. So anyway, yeah, Dancing Elephant Press wound up producing probably the first 100 or so of these things on the publication. And then we decided that others would start writing for us and so forth. So we actually created our own publication then on Medium.
yes,
And right now, sitting out there is, I think, a little over 300 stories from different people. And it's
including me.
including
For
you,
me.
yes, including you. Not only just the natural ones outside, but actual stories too
Mhm.
that you've made up, which are excellent. So, yeah, so we created that. So that's what we did.
So, you have also written a lot of stories in Dancing Elephant Press, and just even before we met, you have written books and different, type of things and wisdoms, and thank you so much, Greg, for joining us. If you can And I know you want to leave a legacy. I know we had conversations about that.
Yeah.
If you can share some of that wisdom, like what is the first thing that comes to mind? It can be a character, which I have a feeling it's going to be, but it doesn't have to be. I know you had also a viral story, Medium, if you want to share about that. What was that viral
It's
story about? But what would you like to share with the people who are here today and
well,
who
let
are
me
watching
tell
the
you the first bit of wisdom that I ever received that I actually realized was wisdom.
Okay.
It took me a few years to realize it was wisdom, but it was wisdom.
Okay.
My father was a tool and die maker originally. As a machinist, he became a tool and die maker, and then he became an engineer for Bethlehem Steel. And my father realized when I was in the 12th grade that I was not going to be a tradesman. He, he says, "Why didn't you take a shop class?" I said, "Is it dirty?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "That's why I didn't do it, Dad." He says, "Oh, okay, you're one of those guys." I said, "Yeah, it's not comfortable. I kind of figure if I can't do it with a pen or paper or my mind, I don't want to do it." He says, "Well, you think I don't use my mind?" I said, "No, I know you do. But I'm just saying for me, if I can't
Yeah,
use my mind and a pen or paper, then uh, it's not something
it's
I'm
not going to work
interested."
for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he understood. So he gave me this bit of wisdom. The wisdom is, as you amble on through life, whatever be your goal, keep your eye upon the donut and not upon the hole. Now, it took me several years to figure that one out because I was in such a rush to live life, which I don't recommend, by the way.
Yeah.
Uh, and so when I finally did realize it, I went, oh my gosh, I've been looking at this the wrong way. It's like taking a telescope and suddenly you go from the small to the big to the big to the small. And it's quite a bit of difference. So that's what it became for me. Uh, I'm not gonna listen. I want the rest of you guys that are listening. You figure it out. Figure out what
I
that
was
means.
just gonna say, are you gonna share your donut and
No, I'm
hole
not.
of what you figured out? No, you're
That's
not gonna give us that
no,
satisfaction?
no, no.
Okay.
I think it's such an important bit that if you can learn this, then you start applying it mentally. You start
Mhm.
applying different rules to things that you qualify as wisdom or a joke or some stupid comment somebody made. And so you start looking at wisdom and you look for wisdom. So anyway, there's the piece. Now you got
Sounds good, the donut and a hole. You guys figure it out and let us know what you come up with, and the other can
uh,
say yay or nay.
do you want the second one?
Of course. I want anything you wanna give us. Keep
This
it coming.
this this is a great lesson I learned when I was about say, I quit playing semi-pro football at 25. So I guess this was about 27. I was about 27.
Okay.
Yeah, I was about 27 because a doctor had just told me that I would probably only live until I was 42. My father died at 42. He said you'll probably live about the same period of time. Now, why is inconsequential, but it had quite an impact on me, and it had a huge impact on the way I treated others. Oh my
Of
gosh.
course, I would
Yes.
imagine so.
Yeah, I'd find out who you are and what you have to offer, and I'd use that up and then disappear, never talk to you again. And one day my wife came to me and she said, "So, do you know how to spell tact?" I said, "Well, yeah, TACT." She said, "No, no, 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 no. You spell it PISSONYOU." I said, "What?" She says, "Yeah, that's pretty much the way you treat people. You just use them up and then dismiss them totally." Oh my God, it had such an impact on me. I sit and thought about that for literally about 10 hours. Just one day, I just found myself a place to go and I sit down and just that's all I thought about. I couldn't think about anything else. When I left, this is what I came up with. I came up with a personal tagline that says, "How can I be helpful?"
Which I love that.
Now, that's the complete opposite of the person that says, "Piss on you," right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so
And that's how I met you. I remember you saying that and writing articles about it too. How
yeah,
can I be helpful?
how can I be helpful? So it's become my personal tagline. I've used it for companies. I use it to turn around a company. I've used it in consulting. I've used it everywhere. And I usually, um, when I meet somebody new, I ask them that question directly. How can I be helpful?
So
No,
those
no.
of you listening,
Yeah,
Dia's asking, how can he be helpful today? And Wisconsin Zebra says, focus on the important part, not the empty space. Someone is trying to distract you from the importance of the important part. This is the response to your donut
very
hole
good.
situation.
Hey,
Yeah,
Wisconsin zebra, you came very close there. That's good. I love it.
yeah.
I love it.
So, what is important? Like, if I ask you right now, Dia, what is important to you in life at this stage of your life when you want to give this legacy?
My
What?
wife,
Your wife?
she's the
What else?
most
She's
she's
the
the
most
most
important.
important thing in my life, period.
Which I met the woman and she's amazing.
Yeah. Well, I should say God is above her, that's true. But, in life and living life, it's my wife. She's number 1.
Family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It comes before She comes before the 6 kids, the 18 grandchildren, and the 9 great-grandchildren. Didn't we have a good time? Still having a good time too.
You wanna share the Christmas story?
Which one?
Well, the one when your wife asked
Oh, yeah.
about
Yep.
Christmas
Yeah,
and you
she
said yes
yeah,
without knowing what it's gonna entail.
yeah,
I love that
totally,
story.
totally without knowing. We were just a young couple just having married. Well, we got married midlife, but, um, we just got married in, October the 25th, and here it was Sep no December the 25th, and we're doing Christmas, and we'd had some people over, and when they left, Margaret turns to me and she says, "Do you really like Christmas?" I said, "Yeah, I love Christmas." She said, "Well, I'd really like to decorate more for it." Now, when we got together as a couple, I brought like 3 or 4 little candles that made up a train or some stupid thing uh, and that, and she had those things, we still have them, the things from Hallmark, where
Uh-huh.
like a bell, you take it and you open it up like this and then pin it closed. We had
Mhm.
enough of those different shapes, and then she took, ornaments, and she put them all across the ceiling. We had one of those old-fashioned popcorn ceilings, so you could push a pin in anywhere you want, nobody'd ever know you were there because it was such a busy ceiling. But anyway, she did that, and she really made the best of what we didn't have.
Mhm.
And, so I said to her, "Sure, knock yourself out. Get
Whatever you want, honey.
whatever you want." So, guys, lesson, don't say yeah,
Don't
just say,
say that.
well, within reason, yeah, or, whatever you wanna say, but don't say what I said. There's a bit of wisdom for you right there.
Because then what happened?
Oh my gosh. Well, today we have the equivalent of almost a two-car garage that has nothing but Christmas in it. Then we have a shed, an 8 by 10 shed that we had made that kinda looks like the house, on the side of our house. That's full of Christmas. And then we have a three-car garage. We don't use the third car side, so my wife has pretty much taken that over with storage for Christmas. And then we have a 2-story home, and there's access to it through the laundry room, which my wife has declared absolutely off limits. But anyway, there's a big room underneath the stairs that is full of Christmas as well. So we decorate for Christmas.
Yeah, and I think you have a core closet that's just dedicated to candles too, right? I
You
think
just
I remember that.
you just wanna expose all our secrets, oh yeah, okay. Yeah,
Or was it a secret? Okay, sorry guys, we
well,
didn't hear that.
listen, it seems so excess. I mean, how many people in America have a home big enough that they can have a single room dedicated to candles? And I don't mean like an entry hall closet in a modest home. I mean a room. The
Wow.
room's probably, well, it's the size of an elevator. Let's put it that way, because that's what it was supposed to be, is an elevator.
And I just say we gotta be careful with candles, right?
Oh, oh my gosh, you wanna tell about everything.
I don't know if you want to, you don't have to,
You
but
little tattletale,
it
you.
could be a secret.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
DR shared something so amazing with me this morning that I have never heard in my life, and, there could be a great lesson in it. If you want to share it, you don't have to. You could just
well,
say,
because
"Gabriella, forget it. No,
yeah,
I'm not doing it."
I guess with this live format, I'm absolutely amazed at it. But anyway, uh, yeah, this happened just the middle of last week. My wife and I were sitting in our family room, and we looked over towards our bar, and my wife had a candle burning on the counter of the bar. And it was one of the Yankee candles in a big jar. And then she had a hat on top of it, which was a top hat decorated in a Christmas motif.
Which was porcelain. Yes.
Porcelain,
Yeah.
yeah. And a glass jar with the Yankee candle. So we're just sitting there watching television, and I happened to look over at her, and I said, "Whoa!" And she says, "What?" And she turned around, and she saw it as well. Normally, a candle's got a flame about an inch tall. This thing was something like 10 inches tall and about this big around. It was crazy. And it was sitting right next to an artificial plant, and I figured that thing was going to be just naturally combust at any second. So we rushed over there and moved that. And then we had that fire going that was crazy. And my wife said, let's put some salt on it. I still don't know what that's about, but it did
I don't
absolutely.
know, but if any of you guys know, let us know. We don't know the salt situation.
Yeah.
Welcome, Alan. Thank you for joining.
Anyway, so I said to her, can we get a bucket of water and let me just dump it in there? So I got some mittens that you use like when you're baking cookies, put those right in the oven. So I got those so I could grab this hot jar and just literally dump it into a big bucket. Well, those of you who've seen that movie Flashback, I had a flashback. Flashback, I
So scary.
understand, is the absence of air. So when there's an absence of air and all of a sudden air is introduced, that's what you get. So what happened is I dropped this thing back into the water, and apparently when it goes down, then it comes right back up. And when it came up, it flashed over. And it literally for a split second caught my entire face on fire. Caught my entire face on fire. It just singed my hair here and across my eyebrows and my beard and a couple of spots on my neck. And then the jars were so hot that I still, through those mittens, wound up burning my thumbs. And so my thumbs were all blistery on both thumbs, and it was kind of crazy. And it's amazing it wasn't a whole lot worse. Just imagine if we'd been gone and forgot to to snuff that candle out, oh my gosh, I can't even imagine what that would be. But we got it all and it was all safe and everything's done. But wow, that was
I
kind of
just
exciting.
I just can't even imagine how scary that must have been just to have that instantaneous flame on your face, and then just the whole idea. I love candles too, and I have a little one usually that's burning around where I am. And sometimes, I'm go downstairs or go outside or whatever and don't necessarily blow it out. Well, now I'm gonna be like, because it seems like in a safe place, but I never heard a situation like yours before, that all of a sudden it just become this big flame for who
Yeah.
knows why. And, it you're right, it could have been much worse. And, from a personal experience, we still don't know the cause, but, I also work for the Red Cross, so I know there's a lot of house fires that happen,
Mhm.
for different type of reasons. It could be old wiring, it could be wood, it could be a candle, it could be, cigarettes, starting things on fire, um, and unfortunately purposeful fires too, but we still don't know the cause. But one of the house where I lived in, my previous home where I lived in, did burn down as well. So home fires are horrible. So I'm glad you shared this story, because it could have been way worse. I'm glad you guys were home. I'm glad both of you are safe. And but I
Yeah.
have to put that out there just to be safe, guys, and watch out for this. This is supposed to be like a tiny little candle with a little flame, and still what it caused. And yeah, I'm just glad everybody's safe. But what a scary experience.
Yeah. Let me just say, hi, Alan. You said hi, so I said hi. There you go.
Yeah. So if people who tuned in later, I'm talking to Dia Rawson, and he is like this amazing person. Like literally, he can do anything. He's been a CEO. He built like 30 companies. He's still running this new thing called Tiny Tail Press, and talking to people all over the world. Have amazing connections. And if you guys have any questions for him, he's here to answer that. Or have any questions for me, feel free. And he's been giving a lot of great advice, and we talked about character traits and businesses and all kinds of things. He's building a legacy, so be a part of that. Ask questions, and even if you guys later have questions, when this is on Substack or on my YouTube channel, you can ask the questions. We're gonna add DR to the video so you can see them. So he might be answering you, or we can do another chat and answer your questions.
Anytime. Anytime.
Okay, what else should we talk about? What would
Well,
you like to share?
I was gonna talk about, some of the things that have gone on with Substack, some of the
Okay.
changes that are making. I absolutely applaud them. I think it's a great use of technology,
Okay.
and I I love what they're doing. I love the idea of this live. This
Oh,
is
yeah. I
this
love it.
this is
That's
that
I wanted you to do it. I didn't even know that this was your first one. I'm so excited.
yeah. This is actually much more freeing than what a podcast is.
Yep.
Podcasts, when I do a podcast, I feel like I am on stage
Mhm.
presentation. Those of you who don't know, I've been, I've spoken to groups as large as 10,000, um, different places around the world. And, so when I do a podcast, I just feel like, it's kind of rigid. That's
Mhm. Yeah.
gonna do that. This is just laid back and just talk to you like you were sitting right next to me.
We are having a conversation, which we had one earlier this morning, by the way.
Okay, let's not tell everything out of that conversation, okay?
Hey, that's who we are. We are just people,
Yeah.
and
Well, we are just people, and while we're talking about that, let me tell you about another favorite subject. There's a book out there called Unlikely, which I wrote, which is about
yes,
my
you
life
did.
because I started off as a homeless kid and then wound up having some pretty good success. And I wanted to write that book because I really believe that anybody, anybody can become successful if they want to be, but as long as they're focused, and they know that this is what they want. And I remember even being homeless. First of all, when I was 5 foot, or when I was 9.5 years old, I was 5'7". So there was a lot of things. There's a lot of pros and a lot of cons to that. But I continued to be one of the bigger people in school, and I got bullied a lot for that. Short people just give you a hard time like it's crazy because of that. And I thought that was kind of interesting.
Mhm.
You think that's interesting? Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. You would think that people who are short get bullied, but to hear
Yeah.
the other side of it, that people who are tall get bullied too. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the reason I think about that is because with the tiny tails that we have, you mentioned
Mhm.
several times, and I didn't exactly pick up on it then because I didn't want to, but I do now. One of the reasons that I was happy to be a part of the formation of this great company called Tiny Tails, tinytailsland.com, if you want to take a look at that, was because I think the education of kids sucks. Is getting worse and worse. And one of the things they don't do in school right now is teach character at all. They do in Japan, but they don't anyplace else. And so Tiny Tales Land is designed to teach character through little kids, through characters. We have over 600 unique characters that all live in Tiny Tales Land. And they teach character to kids, being respectful, being kind, having joy in your life, simple things that make life so much richer. And that's an important item for me. And now I got a chance to share it. Thank you.
Of course. And I'll add links and things like that below in Substack and YouTube once these are published so you guys can check out. But also if you just type in Dr. Rawson or type in my name, you're gonna find all kinds of things that we are involved with or have been involved with. But share a little bit about some
Here's
of your
here's
other
a
books.
here's a fun story.
Yes.
In
Yeah.
in 20 in 2012, you could type my name in to Google and you'd go 32 pages before you found a page that didn't have my name referenced. How
There you
about
go.
how about that for a statistic? Isn't that funny? And
Yeah. I wonder what it's doing now. I should try it
was
out just for
oh,
fun.
I've tried it. It's like 12 pages. But
Okay.
it was funny to me because the older I get, the more I want to try and influence others in a positive way if I can. And writing this book, CIC, is part of that. Doing Tiny Tales Land is part of that. The work that I do in philanthropy is a good part of that.
And the
Uh,
work you did in Dancing Elephant Press is part of that. We did some great projects together.
yeah, we did.
Yeah.
We did. One of the greatest ones ever is the preservation of Lewis's work.
Yes. For those of you who don't know, and probably the people who are here today might not know, but people who might watch later know, a mutual friend, Louis Harrison, have died last summer. And both DR and I were participating close to end of his life to fulfill his wishes, to have him on some interviews and discussions so he can share. He was a genius man. So he can share some of his wisdom with the world. And fortunately, we have some great videos of him. His YouTube channel is still intact, but also I preserved some of the interviews that are on my channel as well, and some of the interviews are also on Substack. And I'm just really grateful that we did that, and that still feels like he's part of us. Anytime I can sit down and watch part of that video of Dr. and Louis or Dr. and Louis and me, and he's like he's still here. He's still sharing wisdom on string theory or just about life or what whatever. So I'm really grateful that we have done that.
In my life, I've had very few opportunities to truly interface with people that are geniuses. They're I mean, we talk about geniuses and people say, "Oh, he's a genius," whatever, but very few people are actually geniuses.
Yeah.
And Lewis was one of them. I only have a few friends at this point in my life, and one of my lifelong friends is an actual true genius. He's
Yeah.
a you know who he is. Well, I'll say his name,
Do we wanna say his name?
Gary
I'm happy to share his name. He is an
Gary
amazing we can put in a promotion for him, for his
yeah,
books and
yeah, Gary Friedman.
Friedman Archives.
He's written over 46 books on cameras. Not
Yes.
not bad, particularly when he didn't start out that way. So, eh, let's talk a minute. Let's talk a minute about this. I don't know if the listeners or you or anybody have had this opportunity, but to go out and talk to people and actually get their backstory. Oh my gosh, you have no idea how fulfilling that is to listen to the fact that another human being did all these things to get where they are today.
I know some of that a little bit just when I
Yes.
was doing the research for my addiction book, and I was talking to people and they would share through
Yeah,
some addiction, but then they would also share accomplishments or different things. And I think the other thing is like throughout these interviews and things like that, like how we are where we are today and what is it that we can share with the world. And I do have the same philosophy as you to share some of the positivity and light and support for each other. There's enough
yeah,
negative stuff out there, right? We don't need to add to that, but just like try to uplift humanity a little bit and share the wisdom and sprinkles that we can to make your life a little better or more interesting or
yeah,
whatever it
yeah,
is. Yeah.
absolutely. But that's become one of the most interesting things to me. We're fortunate that we have a wonderful backyard that's a quarter of an acre, and we have a nice patio, and we've designed it specifically so that we could have people out there in the afternoon and the evening for tea, for dinner, for whatever. But we could sit and we could talk about backstories, share stories with people. You
They
know,
are the storyteller. I did say I was going to introduce you like that, and you see, I wrote it down, and my brain. So, for those of you who are here and who are joining now, this is Dia Rawson, the storyteller. I did
and
it. I just did it like 43 minutes late. Sorry about that.
he's a storyteller. You know, um, most of the things that most of the companies that I've had, the CEO also winds up being the lead salesperson. And people say to me, "Well, how do you sell?" Well, I don't sell. That's the biggest part of what I don't do is I don't sell anybody for any reason.
Mhm.
So when I share with people the things that I can offer, I usually do it in a story form. So what I learned over time was stories sell, details close.
Mhm.
That's completely different than what most people think about with sales, but it actually works, and it's worked for me for a lot of reasons and a lot of different amounts, big amounts, and it always works, always works. But stories are so important. You and I met because of a story. You and I met because I submitted a story to Dancing Elephant Press, and you said, well, that's a different writer. And you let me write on your publication.
Of course.
I've
Your
written a
story
lot.
was important, and it's still important to share.
Yeah, I've written a lot of stories out there.
Yeah.
I know there's others like Pretty and some others that have written way more than I have.
It
You
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you just write one story. One story could be as meaningful as 100 stories or even more meaningful, you know?
this is something we talked about this morning that I think is really important. How many people do you think it takes to read a reader's piece for it to be significant?
One.
That's the right answer.
And that could be you,
It
the
could
writer.
be you.
Could be
Could
me.
be could be any one of us that picks up a piece of paper, writes a note to someone else, and if it affects that one person's life, oh, you may have engaged a ripple effect that you just never see an end to. Just never stops. I was privileged to teach college by accident. Started going to college and the professor was going tonight and the professor says, "Oh, wait, you're Dr. Rawson, don't you own that company?" Yeah, that's my company. He said, "Well, you know as much about this stuff as I do. Why don't you just teach the class and I'll pay you?"
Okay.
Okay, yeah. I own the company and the VA is kind enough to pay me for a month for going full time to school at night, which I did. And I said, "Sure, yeah, you want to pay? That'd be great." But I got an A in all those classes. That was even better, I thought. Anyway, but when I went back to college and started studying these courses and started broadening my mind a little bit, wow, I I I realized then that one story somebody wrote a long time ago was having an effect on me that would probably have an effect on many, many other people over the course of my life. How
Yeah,
about that? That's an effective writer, wouldn't you say?
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think we meant to be, first of all, we meant to be tribal people, right? To
Yeah.
build a connection and support each other and get together. So, I like circles and I like conversations. I like when people come together and share because I think that's how we exist the best, when we communicate and share our stories. And I learned from your story, you learned from my story. Um, I just got a great feedback from one of our other writers and fellow editors in Dancing Elephant Press. Annalise Lords is reading the book that I just wrote with Gabriella Trofin Tatar, Nature Walks. And she was sending me all the little things that she learned from the book, and it was just so nice to get
Oh,
that feedback from somebody. "Oh, I didn't know this. Oh, I didn't know you can use this way. Oh, I didn't know," and I'm just like, especially from somebody who is also as wise and a prolific, writer and author, and to get any kind of feedback that
yeah.
you even just learned one thing, but then you learn multiple things from something that we just naturally done as we were walking across continents and talking about plants and life and all kinds of things. It's just such a great feedback and it kind of warms your heart that, okay, I do have something shared
Yeah.
with this world and it mattered to somebody, so that's it's just a great feeling anyway.
Yeah. When I was teaching at college, I think the point of that was that um for years I had people calling me back and going, I remember when you taught me this and that in the class.
Uh-huh.
I'm
Uh-huh.
still using that.
Mhm.
Really.
Isn't that great?
I
Yeah.
said to myself, but these are letters that people wrote to me, and sometimes they would just call me on the phone and say, "Hey, I want you to know that so and so, such and such," and you just have to step back and go, "Wow, I
Mhm.
made a difference in that person's life." Wow. I think that's one of the most fulfilling things about us being as parents is the fact that we can build a life right there before us with all the things that we've learned. We can put that right into that life, and that life goes forward and affects many, 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 many other people. It's huge. It's huge. Anyway, I think the problem is that once you get to be 79, you start thinking about all these stupid things. jokes like this that are really stupid. I mean, they're kind of important, but um, did you ever think about the number of people you impacted when you were 25, 35? Probably not.
No, not back then, but now, as we talk about more and more and being out there as a writer and an author and, you know, more of a view of the public as like
Mm.
doing a live like right now, anybody can join, right? And anybody can later comment on Substack or YouTube, or if they see it, an article about it on Medium or whatever. I do think about people that I influence, and I hope that the influence is positive and supportive, and it breaks my heart a little bit when you get that unlike button for something, instead of a like button. I'm like, what did I say? But then I have to stop myself. I'm like, I can't question everything. Not everybody's gonna like me, no matter
Yeah. Uh,
what you do. You're gonna get a lot of people who might not like the happiness and the joy I like to spread. They might just want to be miserable, and that's okay. Yeah, that is
That's
that
funny.
is fine. But yeah, it's not something I thought about when I was younger, but as of the second half of the century I'm living, as of yesterday, I'm 51 now. My birthday was yesterday, so I could really say I'm on the other part of the second half of the
You know,
century.
back
I do
then,
think about it more. Yeah.
there's let me just tell you something I believe.
Okay.
Um, I believe that we set our own fate. I believe we set our own goals and we decide where our life's going to go, whether we make it a conscious decision or not. So one day I was sitting around, I was saying, well, there's so many things I decided. This is my principle. This is my value. This is what I do. This is what I won't do. And I thought, I haven't decided how long I want to live.
Oh, I do remember this. And I
So
know the answer.
yeah, so one day I was thinking, how long do I want to live? How long is it really going to take to do the things I want to do?
Yep.
So what was the answer?
100.
That's it. And one day. Yep. 101 day. And I'm ready to go then. Now, as a CEO, I can tell you I never had meetings that were more than 1 hour.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. 1 hour is it. The mind can only absorb what the bottom can endure. So I felt like 100 years, man, if you can't get done what you need to get done in life, make sure
It's too bad.
make sure your wife understands you love her and your children understand. If you can't get all of that done in 100 years, get out of here. You're done
Yeah.
anyway. You're just done. So yeah, that's my goal, and I intend to live every day to the fullest. Once I got past 42, funny thing happened. I turned 43 and I went,
Oh,
that's strange. I'm still
still
alive.
here.
And my 44th birthday came and I said, wait a minute. If this is the norm, then what the heck am I worried about? I'm just going to keep living my life like I'm going to live. That's what I
Yep.
need to do. So I started living every minute to the fullest, as full as I could think of, do as many things as I wanted to, not let fear or whatever keep me from doing other things that I wanted to do. So I just completely changed, and man, what a difference in my life it made. Oh my gosh. So I I look at life so differently than a lot of people do, and that's depending on who you are, good or bad. To me, I think it's great. But one of the things that I learned is that just because you're poor, you don't have to be poor.
Absolutely.
Just because you don't have much doesn't mean you don't have everything.
Some of
Yeah.
the happiest people on earth have almost nothing.
Yep. Yep. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Then I realized that just because people told me I was nothing more than poor white trash, that didn't mean I had to be poor white trash. And I learned that just because I was poor and, I didn't have a dad around and all these other circumstances didn't mean that I was a bad person.
Of course not.
And well, I tell you, they try and beat that into you. And so you can overcome all that. And I think I'm just an average person that did that. And I think that's what, going back to the book Unlikely, that's exactly what it talks about in there. I put all the circumstances, like when my flight was hijacked, and talk about juxtaposition. That I also talk about having dinner with the king of Saudi Arabia, and I'm
Yeah.
sitting to his immediate left. I mean, come on, talk about changes in circumstances, and you go from being someone who's homeless to sitting next to a king. Are you kidding me? Or a sitting president, as I have, and you just suddenly, wait a minute, you know, if you do it, can others do it? Yeah, you can. You absolutely can.
Anybody can do it. Yeah.
Anybody can do it. So that's why I wrote that book. Was I wanted other people to do that. So
It's really easy for others to judge, right? But
mm,
I was just talking to somebody earlier this week, or last week, about it, that people judge without knowing your story, right?
yeah,
It's
yes,
easy, and even I'm guilty. Like when I was young, I didn't know. I didn't know why people become addicted or homeless and on the streets. I had judgment until I learned more about it and I understood it and realized, well, maybe they didn't have a lot of choice in it, and it's really hard to get out of it once you're in it. Um, and
well,
I,
here's a good example. Um, my middle son, went into the army and has since retired from the army. But just before he made the choice to go into the army all on his own, he never talked to me about going to the military or anything else. That's what he wanted to do.
Mhm.
So he comes home and he announces that. And I said, well, I was in the Air Force. You what? He didn't know I was in the Air Force. He didn't know that I served in Vietnam
How is that even possible?
because we never talked about it. When I came home from Vietnam, that was a taboo subject, man. You did not want to talk
Mhm.
to anybody. So we
Mhm.
just we just kind of forgot about it. So here
Mhm.
it is years later, and
Yeah.
I talked to him about that. That was just crazy. Yeah.
Wow.
He didn't
It's
he didn't go in until I think 95.
it's
So
really interesting because I didn't know my grandfather was in a war. I didn't know for a long time that he was pronounced dead and then walked home from uh,
wow. Wow.
Siberia, from a
Yeah.
work camp. But my father told me once, like, ask grandpa about the wound, the wounds where he got shot. And I'm like, what?
What?
Grandpa got shot? What? Multiple what? I didn't know because it was not something that grandpa would talk about it.
Yeah.
And even then I was still really young, so I was just fascinated by that he got, like, bullet holes in his body, and I asked him to show it to me, and he did, but still he was really tight-lipped about it. So, like, right now, as I'm older, and I wanna know more about the story, I asked my aunt, I asked my who's one of them who's no longer with us, and asked, my dad more about, and I did some recordings, and I did some writing and some poetry and things like that to remember my grandparents, and I would like to find out more, and I wish I could ask him more about it, but it was, I think, pretty similar what yours. It's, like, not something you talked about, and especially back then, even 20, 30,
Mhm.
40 years ago, it was not something that you openly just came out and say, "Oh, yeah, I went to war and I got shot and this is what happened." And especially soldiers, they didn't, like, talk about their feelings or emotions or any of those kind of things. And yeah, so
Plus, it
now
goes
that I
with
think about it, my grandpa was like that too, didn't really talk about it.
I think every culture is pretty much that way when you're talking about a man talking about his emotions and that kind of stuff. It's just one of
Mm,
the natures of men is if we just don't talk about emotions like what like women do or people do in general. But yeah, it's pretty interesting to see that evolve, and I've seen it now in other families where that's happened, and it's just kind of an interesting thing. Something
yeah,
to learn about people. But
absolutely.
talking about judging people, that's just so. I don't know why people do that. Why would you judge somebody? Do you judge them on the basis of this or that, or the fact that this happened or that happened, and then you judge somebody about their entire life based on those two, three, four data points? That's it.
Yeah,
If, even if you were a great judge in our actual justice system, you wouldn't use two or three data points. Well, the guy was there. He was a block away from the building, Your Honor. That puts him in the neighborhood of. Okay, well, that's a data point. Yeah, and somebody said that the guy had a blue coat. He had a blue coat. So that's another data point. And you see how it goes, right? Doesn't
yeah.
look better. And so he kind of reasonably fits that. He's guilty. Yeah.
I like to go the other way. I like to give people the benefit of the doubt,
Yeah.
unless they try to hurt me or hurt others,
Right.
or something like that. But I think it's so easy to judge, and I would hate to say, but partially I think it comes from culture. It comes from heritage, comes from religion, like judging people because they have a different religion or spirituality or belief. I like to look at people as humans, and not just, it goes farther than humans. It goes to the animal kingdom. People judge animals too because of eating other animals or doing this or doing that. That's how they are. Animals never try to be something else than what they are, and I think we can learn a lot from them, because many times humans, they try to show up as somebody different or somebody better than somebody else.
Mhm.
And I think that's when the judgments come in, to have a bigger house or a bigger yard or bigger this, bigger that, anyway.
You know what? That's something that's so important. You and I talked about inclusivity for a long time.
Yeah,
That's something so important. If you want to have another live conversation or something like this, and
we should.
even
Yeah,
promote it, we should talk about that because there's a lot of opinion on that subject, and
absolutely.
I think it's experiential. You know, am I saying that right?
I
It's
know what you mean. Yes,
based, yeah, based on your environment and your experience.
yes.
Anyway, but, boy, I'd sure like to talk about that with you. That'd be great. And
I would be happy.
you know
Yeah,
what'd be great? Get
yeah,
Annalise. Get Annalise. Have
yeah.
Annalise come in here and talk with us at the same time. Oh,
I've been
that
trying to convince her to have one of these lives with me for a while, so we'll
oh,
see if that happens this year.
yeah.
We'll
Let's
we'll
see
see if we can do
what
it.
we got together because that would be a great conversation. That's one of the reasons I live in Las Vegas is because of inclusivity.
Yeah,
But man, would I like to talk about that with Annalise, who's so outspoken and so meaningful, but she has to understand it's going to be live and she's not going to be able to filter this out. So,
I know. I'll check in with her about it.
yeah,
And I know we are just over the hour, and I know you don't like to do anything more than an hour. So, do you have any last words of wisdom for the people who are listening or who gonna watch later?
you know, life is the best experience, but people fail to recognize that until it's a lot later in life. It's really a great experience and something that can provide you a lot of happiness or misery based on what you choose. So choose well.
I love that. On that note, thank you so much for watching Dia Rawson and Dr. Gabriella Kőrösi. Until we see you guys next time, have a great day. Thank you, everybody who joined and who will watch this later.
Thanks. Appreciate you.